exciting to be here. We got a new podcast, and I know, look, people tuned in. They're probably thinking, cool, another podcast, just what we needed. But I think, you and I have chatted about this before. There's a lot of podcasts out there that, they're focused on, it's a business, right? They're running a business and they're careful about what they say and do. We want to do something different. We're calling this for a reason, right?
Well, I think you're right. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, how many podcasts can I listen to, right? I mean, there's a lot just in MSP space, right? And then there's kind of my crime, my real life, true life crime serials I got to catch up on, my favorite gaming ones, life hacks, the news. And so you're right. I mean, I think it is kind of like people have limited time for another podcast, but the converse of this is I think there's a lot of voices to be heard and stories to be told that haven't been told. And so we're just going to use this platform to talk to some interesting people, more importantly, hear their interesting stories, right? That's how I think about it. Let's give other people the platform to tell their stories. And you've got an interesting group of friends, in your network of people that we're going to bring on. And I've got some folks I'd like to bring on too. And I just think if this turns out to scratch an itch, and, give voice to people that maybe they otherwise wouldn't hear, then I think we've done something important. That's my view.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of things going on in the MSP industry, IT service industry. There's people doing some interesting things that aren't getting the airtime that they probably should, right? I say all the time, like, you can cure cancer, but if no one knows you have it, what's the point, right? It's like, you got to get it out there. And there's people that need help with that. And I think when we help people in this industry and they do good things, everyone benefits from it. But I also think a lot of times people are afraid to say some things, some controversial things like, well, don't talk about that. We don't want to talk about Microsoft locking down the PowerShell. Don't even make me think about that. Or I don't want to think about Intune becoming a free RMM. I do not want to think about changes that Kaseya, ConnectWise, or Enable are doing. Let's not talk about that because they got big legal teams. I mean, it's not like we want to get ourselves in trouble, but let's have the conversations that we hear at the events that a lot of people don't get to hear, right?
Yeah. And I think so. Let's talk about the name for a second. Look, we went around and around on names, and I guess I came up with MSP Unfiltered and you approved it. But I think the reason I came up with Unfiltered was when I think about you in particular, I think most people who know you come without a filter by and large. I mean, absolutely.
Gets me in trouble.
Yeah, if you're not embarrassing someone, you're not having a Craig day.
Yeah.
So I think it's part and parcel of your personality, and we may as well let it shine and give you full permission to be your authentic self.
There may be some here because listen, I got picked on a lot growing up. I was the skinny kid that was the only skateboarder in a small town, and I got picked on all the time. And I think now this is my way. Like, I get older, I kind of pick back,
Yeah.
I don't mean anything. And a lot of times I get anxious and I calm my anxiety with humor. And sometimes I gotta be real careful because I realize, like, wait, I am not Dave Chappelle on the stage, paid a lot of money. I shouldn't say things like that.
Yeah.
I do tend to just kind of shoot straight. Like, to me, I'd say this, like, in life, right? Everybody says, I want to be successful. And most people tie that to some kind of financial thing or some material ownership. And look, sometimes I do a little bit, but to me, my success in life is that when people look at me, they're like, that guy shoots straight. That guy, when he says something, that's it. When he says he's going to do something, he does it. And he did it with authenticity and integrity. now I found success. So I felt like I have found success in this industry because I've had enough people come up to me now and say, man, I love when you're on stage. Like you shoot it to us exactly how it is. You cut through all the BS. Like, and that's one thing I knew.
It's not corporate speak. There's no corporate speak coming from Craig. Yeah.
I hate jargon. I make fun of it all the time. I probably hurt more feelings with that because I hate jargon. I hate acronyms. If I could live my life with 100 words, I would be so happy. I just want plain English.
Well, so unfiltered, I think another thing that goes into that with this podcast is we're doing one takes. We're going to go live. So it's not recorded. And by the way, not edited, right? So we're unfiltered.
Yeah.
And not only will you be unfiltered, but our guests will have permission to be unfiltered as well. So I think that's key. And we'll start dropping a schedule of, well, maybe we won't drop it, but we will be scheduling guests in the coming weeks. And we know the holiday is coming up. The holidays are coming up. So we're going to be judicious about people's time, but we'll get some, we'll shoot for once a week. And by the way, yes, you've got the evergreen background. Yes, I've got the ThreatMate background. Those are the firms that we work for, but this is not a commercial. We're not pitching evergreen and we're not pitching ThreatMate. Yeah. What we're really pitching are the voices in this community, and we want you to hear those voices. So that's what we're here to do. And obviously, if we get some interest, we'll keep doing it. And if we never get any interest, we'll go back to our day jobs. What do you say, Craig?
To get some guests in that could shed some light on how we got here.
I love that, and the duality of where we're going. And I know you give a lot of thought to that as well, and as do I, right? Because we know this is a space that is ripe for disruption. I know many of our conversations recently, the conferences, are about how the space will be disrupted, right? So we'll bring on some guests who will talk about tech disruption, right? What are the coming technology and products that will fundamentally disrupt this industry, and what import does that have to managed service providers, right? I think that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to wrap it up here, unless you want to say anything else. I'm actually going to put this out there. I decided I'm going to put this out there as a teaser for what's to come. After the teaser for what's to come is our first guest will be none other than you, Craig. And I think it's going to be fantastic. Many of you have seen what happened at the keynote at IT Nation Connect with Craig and Tony Hawk.
That was wild.
And I think there will be a really interesting backstory to how that came together. Yeah. Because I'll tell you my version, and I don't want you to tell anything else. All right. Because I want us to hold it. But I was at a table with you where you said, hey, how do I get on stage, Tony Hawk, with someone who's a mutual friend, not a mutual friend, a friend of yours. Yeah. And I remember this guy saying, I don't even know if I'll get to meet Tony Hawk. But the next thing I know, I see you on stage with Tony Hawk.
I know.
This is like 2 days later, maybe 4 days later. And in between, something happened. And I really want to know, I want to hear that story all the way up to that moment where you decided to do a very risky, potentially life-changing, in a bad way, event on stage, but you nailed it. So
that was wild. I
want to hear the whole story, not right now, but I want you to. I want you to tell that whole story. I think it'll be fascinating, and everything kind of what that means to you, even on a personal level. What does that mean to you after? And I know it's gonna be hard to hold back right now, but let's save that one.
All right.
I'll just say
it just comes down to determination. You know, if you want something hard enough, you absolutely can get it. So,
all right,
I'm living proof.
Thanks, Craig. I'm really looking forward to kicking this off with you and telling some really cool stories and bringing on friends and hearing their stories as well.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
All right.